It's being reported by Shams Charania in The Athletic that the Toronto Raptors are now taking calls on forward OG Anunoby. The Raptors currently sit 6 games under 500 and in the 12th spot in the Eastern Conference, so it's no surprise that they're willing to listen to offers for their players. However, Anunoby immediately becomes one of, if not the best players available on the market, and the offers seem to reflect that, as it's also being reported that Toronto has received offers containing as many as 3 first-rounders in exchange for OG. This may seem steep to some, but honestly I don't think it's that crazy. He's one of the best defenders in the NBA and takes the other team's best player every single night. Add that to his 17 points per game, 6 rebounds, and 37% from 3, and you have one of the league's most sought-after players. He's only 25 years old and continues to improve each season. There have seemingly been 4 teams with the most rumored interest to this point: the Grizzlies, Kings, Pacers, and Knicks. Now let's take a look at his potential fits for these teams and what a deal could look like. Before I get into the Anunoby landing spots and trade packages, if you enjoy my content and have watched a few videos of mine, think about subscribing. 96% of my viewers are actually not subscribed, so if you watched me before and enjoy the content, drop a sub and comment down below. It really helps the channel. The first team I want to talk about is the one gaining the most steam lately, the Grizzlies. They've been rumored as a stealth candidate for the last couple of days due to having plenty of picks and young pieces. The Grizzlies are currently in 2nd place in the Western Conference, and adding Anunoby to the core of Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson Jr. could make them serious contenders and a scary team to face in the playoffs, even more so than they are right now. Since Memphis has practically all of its draft assets, this wouldn't be an all-in move necessarily, and they could still add to the team later on. Now, what would an OG to Memphis trade look like? Danny Green would have to be a starting point due to his $10 million salary. Then you're looking at a couple of young players. I think most likely Zaire Williams would be in the deal, and then a good young big man, whether that be Santi Aldama or Brandon Clark. Then you would need either 2 or 3 firsts in the deal. The Raptors would get the front court help they need, draft assets, and another good young wing in Zaire. The Grizzlies would lose a couple rotation players, but add an elite defender to a team that already has Triple J, Brooks, and Steven Adams as defensive pieces. Next, let's talk about the team right behind them in the standings, the 3rd place Sacramento Kings. Like the Grizzlies, they've been listed as another sneakier option because they also have a lot of draft capital. They're also likely a move away from being legitimate playoff contenders, and even though they're pretty young and the team is newly built, they should jump on their championship chance here. The team is elite offensively, but could still use some more defense, and OG would be a great avenue for that. I actually think this deal is even easier to construct than the last one. Again, there would likely have to be 3 picks because that seems to be market value, but on top of that you can throw in Richaun Holmes and Davion Mitchell, and you probably have a deal. It gives the Raptors a center they've needed, and the Kings don't need Holmes as much with the way Sabonis is playing. Davion Mitchell also presents an elite defender and possible Fred VanVleet replacement for Toronto. This could give Sacramento a starting 5 of Sabonis, Fox, Huerter, Anunoby, and one of Keegan Murray or Harrison Barnes, with the other one and Malik Monk coming off the bench. They would be really difficult to stop, and it could give them a real shot of making the finals as soon as this season. Next, let's talk about the Knicks, who seemingly have been the most talked about with Anunoby overall. Evan Fournier has slipped this season, and OG Anunoby presents a clear upgrade over Quentin Grimes in the starting lineup, despite how good I think Grimes has been. The Knicks have done a great job bouncing back this season and feel like a near lock to make the playoffs. Jalen Brunson has been great for them at the 1 spot, and Julius Randle has returned to all-star form. A deal to the Knicks would likely have to have Derrick Rose in it as salary filler, as well as the 3 firsts that we've mentioned, but the Knicks have a ton of draft capital. Then the last piece of the deal would be a high upside young piece. That could be Grimes, Cam Reddish, or Emmanuel Quickley, but I chose Obi Toppin. He fits the Raptors' need for a rebounder and shot blocker, and honestly he has a potential to be a very good scorer. Derrick Rose could help the Raptors over the next couple seasons as a backup point guard. The Knicks would come away from the deal with a starting 5 of Brunson, RJ Barrett, Anunoby, Randle, and Mitchell Robinson, which would be one of the best ones in the East. OG's defensive presence is a great fit for the Knicks and head coach Tom Thibodeau. they could place themselves in the same tier as the Cavs and Nets, who could make a surprising playoff run towards the finals. The last team I want to talk about is the Indiana Pacers. They have fallen down the standings since Tyrese Halliburton's injury, but are looking to climb back up them upon his return. They locked up Miles Turner for the long term last week and seem committed to being a playoff team right now. The team is very young, with Halliburton, Turner, and rookie Benedict Mathurin being the core pieces, but they were already solidly in the playoff race when their star was playing. Adding Anunoby to that core could make them a tough out in the first round this season and set them up well for the future as they could grow together as a team. This deal isn't quite as easy to figure out as the others, as outside of the picks it would probably be built around reserve bigs. It doesn't seem like the Raptors would be looking for Buddy Hield in the deal, so bigs Daniel Tice and Goga Bitadze feel like a starting point. Then Chris Duarte could be the highest upside piece going to Toronto. Mathurin makes him somewhat expendable, but he could be a 15-plus point per game scorer for Toronto, as well as providing them more shooting than they have right now. The Pacers could then have a starting five of Halliburton, Nembhard, Hield, Anunoby, and Turner, while continuing to bring the rookie scorer Mathurin off the bench. They could be a scary team this year. OG Anunoby is reportedly available, and he could have the largest market of any potential trade piece at this deadline. His defense and solid scoring could take a good team to the next level, and for Toronto, adding 3 picks and a young piece should be appealing. It would be tough for Raptors fans to move on from him, but it seems like this deadline is one where the team goes full sell mode. The 4 teams I think most interesting in the race are the Grizzlies, Kings, Knicks, and Pacers. He could take any one of them to a much more competitive place, and it'll be fun to see where he lands. Thanks for watching. I'm Herm. Have a good one.